some about you. Watch your fucking ass, Nicki Minaj, with your little minions and Don't forget you spent time in Philly. Lots of time in Philly. That's my city. I got that I'll bring onto my page and I'll go live with them on Instagram about your misdealings and your misdeeds in Philadelphia. Cause you thought you was the queen of everything. You came to Philly, yo. And right now you sniffing idiot. I ain't the one. And you don't want the work I got for you.
They call her the queen of rap. For over a decade, Nicki Minaj has been untouchable, a symbol of power, a voice for the voiceless, and the undisputed leader of the Barbs. But what happens when the crown starts to rust? What happens when the woman who claimed to represent the culture allegedly turns her back on it for a seat at a table that wasn't built for her? Jaguar Wright just stepped out of the shadows, and she didn't just bring tea, she brought a detonator. In a chilling, filter-free livestream that has sent shockwaves through the industry, Jaguar didn't just whisper, she screamed the truth. From shocking allegations of full Maga political shifts to the dark shadows of Philadelphia and the haunting echoes of victims silenced by fame, Jaguar is pulling back the velvet curtain. She claims Nicki isn't evolving. She's disappearing, replaced by power rooms, political props, and industry secrets that could burn her legacy to the ground.
I'm gonna teach them how to be petty. Don't forget you spent time in Philly. Lots of time in Philly. That's my city. I got that I'll bring onto my page and I'll go live with them on Instagram about your misdealings and your misdeeds in Philadelphia. Cause you thought you was the queen of everything. You came to Philly, yo.
Is this just celebrity gossip? Or are we witnessing the final public collapse of an empire? Jaguar says she has the receipts, and the clock is ticking. Stay tuned, because the industry's biggest secret is about to go nuclear. This isn't just about rap anymore. This is about the soul of the culture. The world of celebrity is often a hall of mirrors, where what you see is rarely the truth. For years, Jaguar Wright has been the woman the industry tried to silence. A Philadelphia-born powerhouse who has seen the gears of the machine from the inside. But her latest livestream didn't just rattle the cages, it threatened to break them open. When Jaguar looks into the camera and mentions Philadelphia,
I think y'all perfect for each other. Please, y'all two demons, be together so you don't nobody else's life. But don't inflict us with it.
She's not just talking about a city, she's talking about a territory. She's talking about a history that she claims Nicki Minaj is trying desperately to outrun. Don't forget you spent time in Philly. Lots of time in Philly. That's my city. Those words weren't a greeting. They were a tactical strike. Jaguar is implying that before the private jets, before the pink Ferraris, and before the global stardom, there were misdeeds and misdoings in the streets of Philadelphia that the public knows nothing about. She speaks about Nicki not as a fan-favorite queen, but as someone who allegedly stepped on the wrong toes to get to the top. Jaguar's tone suggests that she has individuals ready to go live, real people from the North Philly and West Philly blocks who remember a different Nicki. A Nicki that wasn't a queen, but a sniffing idiot, a term Jaguar uses to imply substance issues that the industry has spent millions to mask behind glam and filters. But the most explosive part of this chapter isn't just the past, it's the radical shift in the present. Jaguar dropped a line that froze the internet. This ain't confusion, this is full Maga. For the American audience, especially the Black and LGBTQ+ communities that formed the backbone of the Barbs for over a decade, this is more than just a political choice. It's being framed as a cultural betrayal. Nicki Minaj, the woman who built her empire on being the ultimate outsider, the fearless underdog who challenged the male-dominated rap game, is now being accused of aligning with the very establishment that her core demographic feels has marginalized them. Jaguar Wright argues that this isn't a political awakening or free thinking. She calls it abandonment. She paints a picture of a woman who has reached a level of fame so isolating that she no longer sees herself as part of the culture that raised her. Instead, Jaguar claims Nicki is now a prop in high-level power rooms. The theory here is chilling. The industry uses celebrities as optics. They aren't looking for Nicki's leadership, they are looking for her reach. Jaguar implies that Nicki has been seduced by the elite, trading her cultural relevance for a perceived sense of safety in political circles that offer protection from her mounting legal and personal scandals. The chat during this live stream was a digital funeral. Fans weren't just angry, they were heartbroken. There is a specific kind of pain that comes when an icon moves from representing the people to representing the machine. Jaguar points out the irony. While Nicki sits in rooms with people who historically wouldn't even play her music, she is distancing herself from the very community that defended her through every beef and every chart battle. Jaguar isn't just calling her a sellout, she's calling her a trophy. A headline that says, "Look, even the queen of rap is on our side." But as Jaguar warns with a cold, clinical certainty, these rooms don't offer true loyalty. In the world of high-stakes politics and industry power plays, you are only as good as your latest headline. Today, you're valuable. Tomorrow, you're replaceable, Jaguar cautions. She suggests that this full Maga pivot is a shield. When you're under fire for your personal life, when the industry starts to turn its back on you, you run to the other side. You find a new gang to protect you. But Jaguar's warning is clear. Philly doesn't forget. The streets don't have a political party. And the misdeeds she hints at, the secrets buried in the foundations of Philadelphia, are coming for the crown, regardless of who is in the White House or who is sitting at the head of the table. This is the beginning of what Jaguar calls the Great Exposure. It's the moment the mask slips. She isn't just talking about a rapper's decline, she's talking about the death of a brand. When the glam is gone, when the minions can no longer shout over the truth, what is left? Jaguar believes what's left is a woman who sold her soul for a seat at a table that will eventually kick her to the curb. And in the dark, cold silence of that realization, Jaguar says she'll be waiting with the receipts, where the air leaves the room. This is where the story stops being about industry tea and starts being about human lives. Jaguar Wright didn't just stop at politics. She went straight for the most controversial pillar of Nicki Minaj's personal life, her marriage to Kenneth Petty. But she didn't approach it like a gossip blogger looking for clicks. She approached it like a prosecutor laying out a case of moral bankruptcy. Jaguar's voice shifted during the live. The sarcasm faded, replaced by a cold, clinical disappointment. She looked directly into the lens and delivered a hard truth that many fans have tried to ignore for years. You can rebrand your music, you can rebrand your look, you can even rebrand your politics, but you cannot rebrand history. For Jaguar, the real tragedy isn't who Nicki supports in an election, it's who she chose to protect in her private life. She brought the conversation to a grinding halt by mentioning the name that has haunted Nicki's legacy since 2019, Jennifer Hough. For those who don't know the history, Jennifer Hough is the woman who survived a horrific encounter with Kenneth Petty back in 1994, a case that led to his conviction and his status on the sex offender registry. Jaguar's mission in this livestream was clear. She isn't just a commentator, she's an advocate. She spoke with a sense of disgust about the reality Jennifer Hough has faced. Think about the gravity of that for a moment. Jaguar is painting a picture of a woman, a victim, who spent decades trying to heal, trying to build a quiet life, and trying to leave the trauma of her 16-year-old self in the rearview mirror. But then, fame entered the equation. Jaguar argues that when Nicki Minaj married Kenneth Petty, she didn't just marry a man, she inherited a registry. She inherited a debt to a victim that had never truly been settled. According to Jaguar, the power of the Minaj brand wasn't used to find grace or restitution. Instead, she alleges it was used as a weapon of intimidation. Jaguar detailed the terrifying reality of what happens when a regular person's trauma is sideswiped by fame. She spoke of Jennifer Hough's life being turned upside down, not because she wanted the spotlight, but because she was forced into it by the sheer gravity of Nicki's celebrity. The allegations Jaguar laid out are chilling. She spoke of private lives being invaded, of daughters being approached, and of families receiving threats from alleged gang ties and friends. The narrative Jaguar is building here is one of a massive power imbalance. On one side, you have one of the wealthiest and most influential women in music history. On the other, you have a survivor who just wanted to be left alone. Jaguar's question to the audience was simple but devastating. How do you preach women's empowerment while standing beside a situation another woman is still traumatized by? This is where Jaguar's demons comment comes into play. She didn't call them rivals. She didn't call them a messy couple. She called them two demons. It's a word that implies a spiritual or moral darkness. Her plea to the couple was blunt. Be together so you don't ruin nobody else's life, but don't inflict us with it. Jaguar is making the case that Nicki's queen persona is a hollow shell. To Jaguar, you cannot be a champion for women if your shadow is silencing a victim. You cannot be a leader of the culture if your resources are allegedly being used to suppress the truth. She's highlighting a pattern of calculated choices. She argues that Nicki didn't accidentally end up in this position. She chose this path, knowing the history, knowing the registry, and knowing the pain it would cause. The most uncomfortable part of Jaguar's revelation is the idea of disposable usefulness. She suggests that in these high-power rooms, the ones we discussed in Part 1, men like Kenneth Petty and women like Nicki are just pieces on a board. But while they play their games of chess, real people like Jennifer Huff are the collateral damage. Jaguar's tone became protective, almost motherly when talking about Huff. She's positioning herself as the shield for the woman she believes the industry is trying to crush. This is why the live felt like a cultural funeral. It was the moment the Barbs and the general public had to look past the pink hair and the hit records and look at a woman who Jaguar claims is protecting her circle at any cost. Fame can protect monsters, Jaguar warned. Money can silence truths, and power can make people forget who they used to be. This section of the script isn't just about a rapper's husband. It's about the moral responsibility of an icon. Jaguar is forcing the audience to ask, at what point does loyalty become complicity? At what point does standing by your man turn into stomping on a victim? As the live reached its heaviest point, Jaguar leaned in closer. She hinted that the intimidation hasn't worked. She hinted that the heavyweight receipts she holds aren't just about what happened in 1994. They are about what has happened recently. The recordings, the calls, the attempts to make a survivor disappear. Jaguar isn't just sounding an alarm. She's building a fortress around the truth. And she's promising that as long as she has a platform, the names of the victims will be louder than the music of the Queen. The atmosphere of the stream at this point was no longer about tea. It was a warning shot to the entire industry. Jaguar is telling everyone watching, the past isn't dead. It isn't even past. And when the industry's elite think they've finally buried a story, Jaguar Wright is there to dig it back up, document by document, recording by recording. This is the moment where the air in the room turns ice cold. If the first 2 chapters of this saga were about politics and personal morality, Part 3 is about the machine itself. This is where Jaguar Wright stops being a critic and starts being a demolition expert. She moved past the rumors and stepped into a territory that the music industry spends billions of dollars to keep under lock and key: the vault. Jaguar's energy shifted as the live stream reached its climax. She wasn't just talking about Nicki Minaj anymore. She was talking about a system of surveillance, leverage, and blackmail that would make a spy novel look like child's play. She looked straight into the camera, no glam, no filters, and told her audience something that should haunt anyone who follows celebrity culture. The industry records everything, everything. For Jaguar, the full Maga shift and the protection of Kenneth Petty aren't just isolated choices. They are symptoms of a much larger, much darker infection. She began to weave a web that connected the highest levels of hip-hop royalty to the most depraved corners of Hollywood. And then, she dropped the name that has become synonymous with the industry's impending collapse: Diddy. In a move that left the chat scrolling so fast it was unreadable, Jaguar addressed the alleged recordings. She spoke about freak-offs, the now infamous private parties where the elite allegedly engaged in acts that were never meant to see the light of day. But Jaguar took it a step further. She didn't just say Nicki was a guest. She implied that Nicki was a participant in the game of collection. You think that audio that they put out was real? Yeah, that was him. Nicki put that up there. She recorded that at the freak-off in Calabasas. Let that sink in. Jaguar is alleging that the Queen of Rap isn't just a victim of the industry machine. She's an operative within it. She's claiming that Nicki has been waiting to drop recordings, archiving secrets like ammunition, and using the Diddy name as both a shield and a sword. Jaguar's implication is that in these elite circles, loyalty doesn't exist. There is only leverage. You record me so you can control me. I record you so I can survive you. This is the disposable usefulness we touched on earlier, but taken to a lethal level. Jaguar suggests that Nicki's recent behavior, the lashing out at fans, the bridge burning with peers, the pivot to political extremes, is the behavior of someone who knows the walls are closing in. She's not just being petty for the sake of branding. She's fighting a war behind the scenes that the public is only seeing in glimpses. Jaguar paints a picture of a woman who is collapsing under her own choices. She argues that when you sit at tables with power brokers and demons, you eventually have to pay the tab. And according to Jaguar, the bill for Nicki Minaj is coming due. She spoke about leaks, not as accidents, but as tactical strikes. In the world Jaguar describes, careers don't just fade away. They are dismantled by the very people who built them. She leaned into the camera, her voice dropping to a whisper that felt more like a threat than a secret. Stop thinking you're untouchable. Stop thinking power rooms love you. Jaguar's warning is that the politicians and the executives Nicki is allegedly trying to align with see her as nothing more than a prop, a temporary headline, a way to signal boost their own agendas. But when the recordings start to leak, when the freak-off tapes and the private audio of the industry's most powerful players finally hit the mainstream, Jaguar says these elite friends will be the first ones to push her into the fire to save themselves. The narrative here is one of total isolation. Jaguar is showing us a queen who has alienated her fans, abandoned her culture, and traded her soul for a seat at a table that is currently being raided by the feds. She's highlighting the fragility of fame. Fame actually makes you fragile, Jaguar said, because when you fall, you don't fall quietly. You fall publicly, trending, clipped, memed, analyzed forever. But Jaguar isn't just predicting a fall. She's claiming she's the one holding the match. She spoke about heavyweight receipts that go beyond just talk. She's talking about files. She's talking about names. She's talking about stories that would ruin everything forever. The silence in the live stream at this point was deafening. Thousands of people were watching, and for a moment, the jokes stopped. The Stan Wars stopped. There was only the realization that the person they had idolized for over a decade might be standing on a foundation of sand. Jaguar's final blow in this section was about the queen image itself. She argued that the Nicki Minaj the world fell in love with, the girl from Queens with the multicolored hair and the lightning-fast flow, is gone. Not evolving, but replaced. Replaced by a version of herself that is obsessed with power, terrified of the past, and willing to stand beside anything, even full Maga ideologies and registry-listed husbands, just to feel secure. But as Jaguar points out, there is no security in a house of cards. She claims that the very machine that lifted Nicki to the throne is the same one that is now archiving her misdeeds in Philly and her misdoings in Calabasas. "I'ma teach them how to be petty," Jaguar promised. And in her world, petty isn't a lyric. It's a lifestyle. It's the act of holding onto the truth for years until the exact moment it can do the most damage. She's portraying herself as the ultimate whistleblower, the one who wasn't scared when everyone else was, and the one who has finally decided that the dark vibe of the industry needs to be exposed to the light of day. As the stream reached its end, Jaguar didn't give a grand finale. She didn't need to. The damage was done. She had reframed the entire career of a global icon as a series of calculated choices that have led to a moral dead end. She left the audience with a chilling thought. If your fans are gone, and the culture has turned its back, and the industry is recording your every move to use against you, who is left to save the queen? The answer, according to Jaguar, is nobody. She ended the segment by looking at the comments, the "say it ain't so" and the "she sold her soul," and she didn't laugh. She didn't gloat. She just sat in the silence of what she had unleashed. It wasn't entertainment. It was an autopsy of a legacy that Jaguar claims was traded away for a seat at the table that was never actually hers to begin with. The screen flickered, the connection wavered, but Jaguar's last words echoed, "This is only the beginning." And if part 3 was just the beginning, the industry isn't just in trouble, it's already over. The veil has been ripped, the demons have been named, and the receipts are being counted. The fall of an empire is never a quiet event, and thanks to Jaguar Wright, the entire world has a front row seat to the collapse. We've just walked through the darkest corridors of the music industry, guided by the words of Jaguar Wright. From the streets of Philly to the high-stakes power rooms of the elite, the picture she paints is one of betrayal, secrets, and a queen who may have lost her way. But now, the most important question isn't what Jaguar said, it's what you think. Is this the beginning of the end for Nicki Minaj's legacy? Or is this just another chapter in a career defined by controversy? Has she truly abandoned the culture that built her? Or is she just navigating a world we don't understand? Jaguar claims the truth is coming, and it's heavyweight. What do you think about the full Maga shift? What about the allegations regarding Jennifer Huff and the freak-off recordings? We want to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Is the queen still on her throne, or are we watching the crown fall in real time? If you found this deep dive insightful, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. We're keeping a close eye on this story as it develops, and you won't want to miss what comes next. Tap the notification bell to stay updated on the latest industry shifts and truth bombs. Until next time, keep your eyes open and the truth close. Sound off below. Is she done, or is this just the beginning?